Good evening, YouTube. It's like a little after 10 o'clock, I think. Um, I feel compelled to make a video. Um, because one of the great things that I adore, truly, truly, truly adore, um, is genealogy. And that is basically the ongoing study of your family tree. I've always described my family as, like, have you seen my big fat Greek wedding? Oh, you have? Okay, yeah, it's like that with hillbillies. Okay, so, okay, maybe hillbillies is a little bit derogatory. But the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of my family has lived in West Tennessee for most of my life. And my tree is more than incomplete. It is also more than inaccurate for a lot of the things that are on there. We have people who are listed as living who are not. We have people who don't have, I call them before and after dates, which is a pretty gruesome way to describe it, but it's their date or birth year, and their, the same for the date and year of their death. And I have a lot of people who are truly incomplete. I don't have all of their spouses. I don't have where they lived and died. I don't have their siblings and their children. And it's grossly incomplete. But I took a very linear approach where I started with myself and my dad's side and just kept going. And the same with my mother. I started with her side and just kept going pretty much, as well as I could. I have, I know my parents. I know who my parents are. My mother passed when I was 16, and, I have pretty limited information about her dad's side of the family. But my dad's side of the family was very well researched, well into the 1700s. Go forth and prosper, and we did. we definitely did. So, there's just a ton of us. So, anyway, I say all of this to say that I love the show Who Do You Think You Are? And anybody who knows me very, very well knows that I adore foreign television, particularly British television and Australian television. And fortunately, I don't know if they have an Australian version of Who Do You Think You Are. I'm going to check because I'm watching it right now. But if they do, I'll definitely check it out. But the two primary versions that I know of this show are an American version and a British version. And they're more than profoundly fascinating to me. So, I've seen most of the episodes that are available online. I haven't had cable in years, so I haven't watched any of the newer stuff, really, but every time I get to watching it, I get inspired, and I work on the tree, and I don't have a paid account, but I have gotten my family back into the 1500s in Scotland on my dad's side, and back into the 1600s in France on part of my mom's side, which I'm pretty proud to have done. Most of those records that I do have, I was not able to attach to my Ancestry account because I don't have the paid version. But I do have a separate private account through a website that's sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because part of the Mormon doctrine is knowing where you come from and everything, and they offer a free service with free census records and things like that. And because my family's been here so long, I really couldn't thank them enough for allowing me to actually view the census records and make those connections and get military descriptions of some of my family members that I never would have dreamed of having. with my free account on Ancestry.com. I could not be more thankful to the Mormon Church. So, anyway, I'm watching the episode. Excuse me. Everybody's been sick. Literally, I know about 5 people right now just in my immediate circle who have the flu. Thank you. So, I don't think I have that. Maybe. But I've been pretty sick. I ran a fever all night last night, and today I've been pretty good, but, things have been rough. But anyway, I'm all choked up. Anyway, I'm watching the British version of Who Do You Think You Are for the episode on Ian Hislop. I'm not familiar with his professional work, but I do know that he has an episode on here, and we're only 4 minutes and 12 seconds in, and at about 3 minutes and 30 seconds or so, he said something to the effect of how we videotape things, and he talked about how his dad was a civil engineer, and they moved all over the world as he was younger, and his dad died very young. When he said he was about 12 when his dad died. And I relate to that with my mom because I have so few pictures and so little video evidence. Fortunately and unfortunately, when my mom passed, I have her very close friends from college and church and the community who knew her very well and have always spoken of her in the utmost regard and will tell me how she was. But one of the problems that I had with her is that she was one of the most incredible people that I've ever met in my life, but I never knew her as anything more than a mom. And I'm not advocating that every parent should be friends with their child. I'm definitely not, because there's a time and a place, but I feel like I was right on the cusp of being old enough and understanding enough to be friends with my mom, and that was taken from me. And I never knew her as a person, and from what I understand, she was one of the most incredible people that a lot of people had ever known. And it's very upsetting to me. Because I feel like I missed out. So, anyway, what Ian Hislop, it's IANHISLOP, on Who Do You Think You Are, and somewhere around 3 minutes in, he said something that spoke to my soul. And he said how his dad, who had died in his own childhood, had always videotaped the lives of him and his sister, and he had little cameos from his mom, and how he wished he had more video of his father. He said, you turn the camera forward, but really you need to turn this camera around, because you're videotaping your children. Your children are going to remember a lot of these things, or won't miss the things that they don't remember. But that what you need to do is turn the camera around, tape yourself. And because your children are going to be the ones that watch this in the future, primarily. And that spoke to me. Because I can remember from a very young age, my mom was more than a little bit self-conscious of how she looked. And, in my mind, I'm biased, but in my mind, my mother, which hopefully I'll insert a clip of her somewhere in here, she was one of the most gorgeous people I'd ever known. And I knew her as a disciplinarian. But I remember from a very young age that she was overly self-conscious. She put herself through law school and graduated in 2008. And I remember under her cap and gown, she was going to wear a sleeveless sundress that had very wide, very modest straps on it. And she looked at herself in the mirror before she put on her cap and gown and said, "I hate this dress." And I was like, "Why? It's so pretty." And it was. It was cream with big yellow and not overly yellow, but just gently yellow and gently green flowers with a black outline on them, which was very in 2008. And it was gorgeous. It fit her perfectly. It had the high waist and it flared out and it had the big bow in the back. It was gorgeous. And she said, "I hate this dress." And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "It shows my arm fat." All I could think was, "Woman, you have gone to school for all of these years, gone back to school for all of these years, and here you are about to graduate second in your class, and you're going to be wearing a cap and gown, and you're worried about your arm fat?" And because of that, I don't have any pictures of her in that dress. I have it in her cap and gown, and that's it. And I might put that here. I have so little of her. And the way that she spoke, and the way that she talked to other people, her laugh. Anybody that talks to you about her will talk about her laugh. And right now, literally right now, I have nothing of any of that on video. I know that it exists, but there are years of gaps for her where you might hear her in the background, or they're just totally gone. And I will never be able to replicate that. I don't have the chance to, say, "Oh, well, we missed all of that, but let's get everything going forward," because we can't. And I guess my point is, with all of this, is that I hope that I can get over myself enough when I have kids and when I'm doing the home videos. I hope that I can get over myself enough to be present for my children in the future when they can't replicate that for me. And I hope that I find the things of my mom, because I have so few. And it's so true. It's so true. The kids may or may not care. And their kids might care. Their kids, definitely get pictures of your kids and videos of your kids. Absolutely. They're gorgeous. I love seeing them on Facebook. They're great. Let your kids see and remember what you looked like and who you were and how you acted at your best. At your best. Because I can tell you stories about the incredible woman who was my mother until I'm blue in the face. But unless you saw it and heard it, lived it and hugged it and loved it, it will never ever do her justice. And you will never know the difference. So that spoke to me. Definitely give this show a look if you're interested, or even if you're not interested. I'd definitely like to start some kind of a dialogue because, I've always wanted to know where I came from. Not that it changes who I am, but just, for my own personal interest. So, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Be kind to your kids. And don't forget and don't be afraid to turn the camera around. But remember that it's not about you when you're gone. Okay? Have a good night.